Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 3rd of February, comes to you from London. And as always, we look at currencies first, then stock markets, some commodities, and last of all, some US tech stocks. And dollar index has been weak really for the last several weeks, and we just see here that we're still below the cloud with these downside targets. So the short-term weakness reigns at the moment. We are on long and medium term still pretty bullish, and interesting to see that we are just seeming to find some support in the cloud here. The weakness continues. There has been a bit of recovery from the lows yesterday, but at the moment it's still pretty much about dollar weakness. And if we look at the euro, that has consequently been stronger in the short term. We've got a new upside target of 112 here. Quite a lot of upside targets here now on the short-term chart. We take a look at that. We see here this new upside target, 111.50 actually has been activated. That's 3.6% upside. So there's quite a lot of upside potential and no new signs of downside at the moment. Keep an eye on the 1-minute charts if you're really trading the currencies closely. But at the moment, it's all about euro strength, dollar weakness. Although we are just entering a resistance area here on the euro on the medium term chart. So at some point we expect that short term trend to reverse in line with the medium and longer term trends. If we look at the yen, we still are below the cloud here on the dollar as well, but starting to show signs that we might come through. No clear downside targets here, so that's quite interesting, and we haven't activated this medium term downside target either. So the dollar weakness could easily come to an end, and we might see a return to dollar strength. We look at sterling. Sterling has been pretty strong as well. Got as high as 127 yesterday, back to 125.23 this morning. So that's quite a pullback. We're just starting to make noises coming through the cloud here on the daily chart. But at the moment, sterling long term still looks pretty bullish. We've got a new upside target to 132.29, but we'd have to move above that 127 level we saw yesterday to activate that. So that's quite key now. Can we move above 127 for sterling to then activate that new upside target? We don't have a multitude of targets like we do on the euro, so the picture is less clear. And if we look at the euro sterling rate, 1 euro is worth 85p. That has been climbing a bit, so sterling has been a bit stronger as well. And then if we look at Swiss franc, 124, we were as high as 126. So sterling has just actually re-rated quite a bit over the last day or so. And if we look at against the Australian dollar, we see the sell-off here quite strongly, 167 back to the 163.70 level. So a good few cents decline there. So sterling is falling against quite a few other currencies. It's not just as clear against the US dollar. If we take a look at the US stock market, the S&P 500 index, we were up very, very slightly overnight, just struggling really to get back through this 2300 level, but to be honest, it's still pretty bullish on all three charts, and so whilst we're pausing for breath at the moment, we do see quite a bit of upside. There was a downside target of 2.8% down to 22 at 16 that was activated yesterday, but we've still got more upside targets outweighing that, so we'd expect any big moves to be to the upside. And if we look at the Nasdaq 100, that's bullish on all three time frames as well. Again, a downside target activated, but we've got a lot more upside targets. Watch for new targets and maybe keep an eye on the 1-minute charts. But interestingly, we are seeing quite a lot of upside here. So although yesterday wasn't a strong day, it was down 5 points, we are just seeing that the overall picture is pretty strong for US tech. If we look at the Russell 2000, this has been a little bit more in the doldrums, big sideways range since the big jump. So we're waiting really for a breakout in the Russell. That shows up in the weekly chart, just several weeks of just sideways movement. So just hasn't really broken out. The Dow also came off last night. And if we look here, we're in sideways movement as well. The Nasdaq E-mini is just slightly up today, so that we may see the US market just open a bit higher. FTSE just struggling really to break through this cloud in the short term, but the medium and long term charts are there. We'd expect to see that that short-term break soon. We do have a couple of downside targets, but the medium and long-term picture, and of course the US market will have an effect. And if we look at the FTSE 250, this has actually broken above the cloud, and so from that perspective, on the short term, we are starting to see some upside. So it's just those blue chips with a sterling effect on the FTSE 100 that's holding it back. If we look at the DAX has actually come back through the cloud on the short term. Medium and long term charts look great, but we are just seeing a little bit of a sell off there. Strong euro probably having an impact. And taking a look at the Hang Seng after Chinese New Year, just holding on to the bullishness here, starting to come through in the cloud. It would be quite a big relief for Asian markets if China could long term just get through this downtrend. And the Sensex has been looking pretty strong all round, continues to look strong, down a bit overnight, but still pretty strong all round, and we've got some big upside targets still to play for. The Australian index has just been in the doldrums of late, just can't quite get back above the cloud, and we do have a couple of downside targets, but we still have this interesting picture of upside, and a lot of upside targets here. This one here not activated, but these other ones obviously are. We've gone a long way towards them. We do have a downside target. Just got to watch how that Aussie market plays out. The strong dollar maybe having a little bit of an effect there. The strong Australian dollar, that is. Looking at Brent, we're powering ahead. We're at 57 now. We've always said high 50s. We're continuing above the cloud, so we are just seeing crude getting into that territory. And we're seeing on WTI, we're just nudging the $54 mark at the moment. Again, that's quite bullish. Nat gas has just been really in the doldrums, and there's around these low $3 level, 315. We're below the clouds still. Quite a lot of volatility showing up, but the long-term trend is still bullish, but we are just seeing some short-term volatility in the price. We talked quite a bit about gold of late. Gold has actually had a good recovery yesterday, the last couple of days, but we're just pulling back a bit this morning. We do have this upside target here, 15% away, but we still need to move higher to activate that. And it was just really a case of taking out that January high to activate that target. So it'd be interesting to see if gold can move higher. But at the short term, we're above the cloud. That's bullish. And if we look at silver in the short term, we're also above the cloud. Just testing support at the moment, but we do have this upside target of 6%, so quite key. We have given another sell-off yesterday, giving us a new target. But quite a bit of volatility here. But for the moment, we are just seeing the short-term picture improving for precious metals. Looking at 10-year Treasury note, we see here we're back at that 2.49%, back above the cloud. So yields on the 10-year looking positive at all directions. Apple had an amazing day the day before yesterday, up 6%. Just a little bit of a sell-off yesterday, but only very slight. Holding on to the gains, basically. That's very bullish. If we move to new highs, we activate this target to 150. That's 17% upside from here. That's quite a long way. And if we look at Google, we see here that we are actually above the cloud, although we're below on the short-term chart, but the long-term picture looks pretty good. Amazon continues to power ahead, up yesterday in a weaker market, bucking the trend a bit here, and we're bullish on all three time frames, so Amazon stock looking pretty good at the moment. Just maybe a little bit of resistance on that October high that we're still not through. Microsoft sold off about 0.75%, well, 0.6% yesterday, and we are just testing the support level here on the cloud, but the long-term chart's still pretty bullish. Facebook was the interesting one, had results out the day before yesterday and after hours trading, opened yesterday, down overall, just couldn't hold any gains yesterday, but the long-term picture's still pretty bullish, just a bit of volatility around those results. So at the moment, it's just a case of we're holding that cloud. Putting these moves into context in the cloud is always really useful. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. See you then.